Hello everyone. Welcome back to UGC Net English Detailed Lectures. In the previous class, we discussed the biography of the African writer Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Today we are going to go with one of William Shakespeare's history plays, that is King John. King John, full title is The Life and Death of King John, written in 1590s and published in 1623 in the first folio. William Shakespeare, 1564 to 1616. So first of all, we know that it is a history play. And John is the King of England, who is the central character of the play, and he ruled from 1199 to 1216. And King John was the son of Henry II of England and Helena of Aquitaine. And King John is the father of Henry III of England. Now let's see how the play begins. The beginning line is important. The play begins with the words of King John. Now say, chatelain, what would France with us? So the play begins with lines, now say, chatelain, what would France with us? And the play ends with the lines of the bastard. That is, oh, let us spare the time but the needful woe, since it hath been beforehand with our griefs, not shall make us rue, if England to itself do rust, but true. So the play, King John, ends with the lines spoken by the character bastard. Oh, let us spare the time but the needful woe, since it hath been beforehand with our grief, not shall make us rue, if England to itself do rust, but true. Now let's analyze the summary of the work. When the play opens, we see King John, and the first line of the play is spoken by King John. So King John and his mother, Queen Helena, greet a French ambassador. So a French ambassador has come to meet King John in order to pass him a message. The French king, Philip, sent the ambassador to claim the English throne on behalf of John's nephew, Prince Arthur, son of Geoffrey II, Duke of Brittany. So the messenger has come in order to pass a message that the French king, that means Philip, really wants John to pass the crown, pass the rule of his kingdom to his nephew, Prince Arthur. So Prince Arthur is the nephew of King John. So Prince Arthur has an eye on the throne of England. So Prince Arthur wants to be the king. And he gets the support from the King of France, that is King Philip. When John and Helena rejected the demand, a war is declared. But King John and his mother Helena reject the demand. The King of France demands that he surrender his throne, but instead John sends a force against him under Philip Fauconberg, also known as Philip the Bastard, and Richard Plantagenet. So when the French king demands John's kingdom, John really rejects the demand and he prepares for the war. So John, with the help of the person Philip Falconbridge. So this Philip is not the previous Philip. Previously we met one Philip, that was the King of France, Philip. King Philip. This is Philip Falconbridge. This Philip is with the side of, he is in the side of King John. So Philip Falconbridge, also known as Philip the Bastard. So the bastard, we have seen the last line of the play was spoken by bastard. That means Philip Falconbridge. So he is also called Richard Plantagenet. So in short, we can call him Bastard or Philip the Bastard. So remember, on one side we have King John and Philip Falconbridge and their armies. And on the other side we have King of France, that is King Philip and King John's nephew Arthur. So they are on the other side. Philip Falconbridge is the illegitimate son of Richard I of England, also called Richard the Lionheart. So Philip Falconbridge is the illegitimate son of Richard I of England, who is also called Richard the Lionheart. The armies clash at Ancres, but there is no decisive victory. So the two parties, they fight from the city of Ancres, but they are equally powerful, so the war goes nowhere to the end. So finally, John makes a peace settlement with the French king. John is in the meantime having a problem with the Pope. So John also had some problem with the Pope. We know that the Pope, that time, the Pope had a powerful command over the kingdom. The Pope has excommunicated King John. The Pope's envoy Pandolf orders the French king to resume hostilities with John. So now Pope is also on the opposite side because King John really angered the Pope. So the Pope really wants the French king to defeat King John. So the Pope's messenger envoy named Pandolf, he approaches the French king. During one of the battles, John captures his nephew Arthur. Thus, during one of the fights, Prince Arthur is caught by the armies of King John. He gives orders for his execution, but his Chamberlain Hobart disobeys the order. So King John tells that Arthur should be killed. But King John's Chamberlain Hubert, so the man Hubert feels pity at the young Prince Arthur, so he leaves him. He just hides the person, hides him in a castle. So while trying to escape, Arthur falls to his death. So from that place, while Arthur was trying to escape, he falls down and dies. When King John captured Arthur, the supporters of King John, that means the noble men of the country, they had really warned King John that not to kill Arthur. So when Arthur dies, they think that King John really worked behind the cause of his death. So the nobles, they accuse John of murder and defect to the French side. So now the noble, they feel that King John killed Arthur, but actually Arthur died accidentally. but without knowing it, the nobles, they change their sides. They side with the French party. John is forced to hand over his crown to Pandolf. Now John is forced to handle his crown to the Pope's messenger, Pandolf. The kingdom is now under the Pope's control. So the kingdom is now under the control of the Pope. Pandolf now tries to stop the conflict, but the French won't cooperate and the armies meet at Edmundsburg. Now the messenger, Pope's messenger, tries to bring a peace between the two parties, but the French people, they are not ready to give up. They want an ultimate victory over King John. So they refuse the offer of peace. Now the nobles who have changed the sides, now they feel something fishy about the French side, French king. So they again change their sides. The nobles don't trust the French king and they return to John. The French king comes to terms with John through Pandolf. Now what happens? Finally the French king, they come to terms with John. So because of the involvement of the Pope's envoy, Pandolf, there is an attempt again to make peace between the parties, and at this time the French king really gives into the request. But John is not there to see that. But John was not seen anywhere because John was staying in a place. He was staying in Swinstead Abbey, in a place. From there he was poisoned by a monk. John is not there to see that, as he is poisoned by a monk while staying at a Swinstead Abbey. So the King John is poisoned by a monk and he dies. After his death, the kingdom is succeeded by King John's son, King Henry III. So that's all the play King John about. In the next class we will meet again with one of John Milton's poems, that is On His Blindness, a short poem, a sonnet of John Milton on his blindness.